Now, the program to help you and your family get fit and stay fit with a biblical foundation without a one-size-fits-all plan. It's Faith Family Fitness with your host, Full Armor Sports and national champion coach, Jason Lupo.
Welcome to Faith Family Fitness on 100.7 The Word. My name is Jason Lupo. I'm your host today. And you know winter is coming when you wake up and your car says that all four tires are low on air. And that's what happened this morning, first time. You know fall is here, you know October's here, and Halloween's around the corner, and Thanksgiving and Christmas. And typically, when fall arrives and the winter arrives, we have less activity in our lives. Our lives become just a little bit more sedentary. And so the question of the day is, can sedentary behavior all day erase a 30-minute workout? And this is the question that's being asked of new research led by Vahid Farahi out of the University of Oulu in Finland. He is wondering and asking the question, does sedentary behavior, does sitting on the couch all day, erase a small 30-minute workout? And this study is not a small study by any means. It's a study of 3,702 adults. And it was led by, once again, University of Oulu in Finland. And these 3,000 adults, 3,000 plus adults, wore an activity tracker for a handful of days. And they were tracking to see how much activity they had in their everyday lives. And the results are quite interesting. So hang with us as we take this brief time out, and we're going to come back and we are going to answer this question as to whether or not sedentary behavior all day erases a workout. Thanks for joining us. Stick with us after this brief time out.
Thanks for listening to Faith Family Fitness, a presentation of Full Armor Sports Teams. Teamwork is at the core of any successful organization. Full Armor Sports, led by national champion coach Jason Lupo, is now registering for school year sports programs. Full Armor is a multi-sport teaching and training organization with homeschool options available. All of Full Armor sports coaches are certified and experts in their field. Full Armor's coaches combine for over 500 years of coaching experience. They will help your kids gain fundamental skills, the concepts of teamwork, essential to being successful throughout their lives. Multiple sports options are available now, from swimming, softball and volleyball, to powerlifting and youth MMA. The faith-based approach to making sports fun and productive are a great choice for your kids at Full Armor Sports Teams. Learn more at fullarmorsportsteams.com.
Welcome back to Faith Family Fitness on 100.7 The Word. Today's topic, can sedentary behavior all day erase a workout? Research out of the University of Oulu in Finland, where they took 3,702 adults and they put an activity tracker on them. And what they found was they found four distinct categories and groups of people. And the first one has a very interesting title. They named them the active couch potato. And this was about a third of the entire group. They sat for 10 plus hours a day, and they had 30 minutes of daily exercise, but they accumulated less than 220 minutes of light movement. Then we have this light activity group. They too had a 30-minute workout, lots of sitting throughout the day, but they stood up often, and they strolled. 40% more time, or about 90 minutes more, than this active couch potato group. The third group sat uninterrupted for up to 10 hours per day, but they exercised 1 hour per day. And then they had the movers. They exercised an hour about every day. They lightly moved about 2 hours more than the active couch potato group. And what they found was that every group, the light activity, the group that worked out an hour but sat uninterrupted, and the movers all showed improved blood sugar control, cholesterol levels, and 8% less body fat. And so they found, to kind of wrap things up, that a 30-minute workout does very little when you sit sedentary for the rest of the day. When you're sitting at a computer, when you're watching TV, when you're not doing much activity, that 30-minute workout does very little. The movement throughout the day, 80 to 90 minutes of light movement, was the critical portion in improving blood sugar control, and improving cholesterol, and reduced body fat. And they found that if you have to be sedentary for a long period of time, that simply doubling your workout to an hour had the same effect. And so we talked a handful of weeks ago about our food and the dietary guidelines set up by our government as to how we should eat, and how the dietary guidelines that are put forth are not really adequate to our daily lives. And the same goes for the diet or for the fitness guidelines that we're given. The 30 minutes a day, 150 minutes a week may not be enough if you are sitting behind a computer all day, every day. And so we have to move. And when this lead researcher, Farahi, was interviewed by the Washington Post, he says the solution doesn't have to be intimidating. Keep it simple. Try to move more, however you can, and in ways that you enjoy. And so it doesn't take much. Back about the last year and a half, I took a brief sabbatical from coaching swimming. And when I was coaching swimming, I walk the entire pool all the time. Every single minute that my swimmers are moving, I am moving as well. And I accrue a lot of steps. And there's this cool app that comes on the iPhone called the Health app. You click it, and you can see your steps for the day. And I've noticed that when I'm coaching swimming, I am moving a lot more than when I wasn't coaching swimming. And so it could be as simple as just walk more. I'm averaging 8,000 steps in a 2-hour practice. If I'm sitting and I'm not coaching, I try to stand up. I try to move. I take my phone calls when I'm standing up. I like to roam. Probably many of you listening in, you guys like to talk while you're standing and moving. I don't like to sit down and talk on the phone. And the upside is we no longer have phones on a wall connected from a cord, that we don't have that ability to move. We have a cell phone that moves with us. And so simply talking and moving could be it. I tend to park in a farther parking spot and force myself to walk further. All those simple things make a huge impact. Taking the stairs instead of the elevator. It's the small amounts of light activity and light movement that are making the difference. And if you're trying to lose weight, this is huge. 8% less body fat. And these are people that are just moving throughout their day, not even focused, intentional exercise. And so what it takes is just a little bit more. It takes for you to be aware of the fact that you're sitting down for prolonged periods of time. And if you're a family, and if you have young kids, another study was just released that was posted and published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. And it was by lead researcher Lin Yang. And they looked at trends in sedentary behavior in Americans from 2011 to 16. And in conclusion, they found that Americans are watching TV for 2 hours consistently. Their computer use during leisure time has increased among all age groups over that time frame. And they estimate that the sitting time has increased among adolescents and adults. And where the new research comes in, and the importance, especially in very young kids, that was released just this last week, scientists at the University of Illinois Champaign found that children under the age of 2 who spent less than an hour a day on electronics showed improved and better cognitive skills. And so while it's easy to entertain our kids by putting them in front of an iPad, by putting them in front of a phone, by just handing them your phone when they're bored, it's doing our kids harm. And we've seen over the course of the last 2-3 years with COVID how much our kids have become more sedentary. And sometimes when we're working from home and our kids aren't going to school because they're stuck at home with the COVID restrictions, and hopefully those are coming to an end pretty fast. But when they're at home and they're being entertained by devices, or even when they're sitting in classrooms, if they're not moving, their attention span, their focus is going to decline. I've been coaching a long time. I know which kids are more active beyond just the practice that we have. And our kids are meeting the guidelines. They're working out vigorously for the time frame that the American government has put forth as what is recommended. But there's still a substantial difference in the health of our kids that are moving constantly versus the kids that are sedentary. And we've seen that recess in schools has been diminished. They're spending more time in the classroom, less time outside, especially when you get into the high school levels and even the middle school levels. We've got to get our kids moving more. We talked about physical education a couple weeks ago. We talked about the decline of physical education in the classroom. Our kids have to be moving more. We have to be moving more. And the more we move, the better our health. When you look at what is the greatest risk of sedentary behavior, we see the health risks: obesity, heart disease, including coronary artery disease and heart attacks, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, stroke, metabolic syndromes, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, including colon, breast, osteoporosis, falls, increased feelings of depression and anxiety. And so sedentary behavior is affecting our mental health. It's affecting our well-being. And it doesn't take much. That comment by the lead researcher that just says it doesn't have to be intimidating. Keep it simple. Try to move more. It's not hard. And so we can talk all day long about the latest and greatest fitness programs out there. But really it has to do with our everyday life. And that is super interesting research that has come out. Super interesting research that shows that it's truly our activity throughout the day that makes the biggest impact. Some of us probably can't get to the gym for an hour workout every day. We have kids. You guys might have kids. They're running around. You got to get them to sports practices. But what you do during those sports practices could make a substantial impact as well. We have parents at our swim practices that jump rope while their kids are swimming. We have parents that go on runs while their kids are swimming. Sometimes it has to do with, walk around the soccer field as your kids are playing and practicing instead of sitting on the bleachers and watching them. You can watch as you're walking around. It's about movement. Movement is fueling what's happening in our body. And so this changes a lot because it's less intimidating. It's less intimidating to think I don't have to go to the gym. All I have to do is move more in my everyday lives. And so when we look at our family, when we look at our kids, and when we look at this research, we've got to get them off the screens. And there's plenty more research that shows what iPhones and social media has done for the mental well-being of our children and the adolescents that we work with, and the decreased cognitive function. We know now that increased dementia and increased chance of cognitive decline in older adults has a lot to do with activity and sedentary behavior. And our world has changed. We're no longer tending farms. We're no longer raising cattle. A lot of us are sitting on computers because that is what the world has become. It's become a place where we store things in the cloud and we're on our computers. We don't even get up to go to a printer anymore because we've gone to a paperless society. So there's less activity because we're not walking to a printer because everything's stored in the cloud. We don't need a printer. And so as our world becomes more technologically advanced, as we become more computerized, our sedentary behavior is going to continue to decline. So my advice to you, walk more, get up, move more. And when it comes to our kids, they need to be in programs that are going to allow them to exercise. But even more, they need to be moving outside of those programs to be truly healthy. To allow them to focus on school, they have to move. Our educators need to get our kids up and moving around the classroom more. And that's just the way it's got to be. That's the way that we have to change and adjust in order to improve the outcomes in our children and our families and our own personal health outcomes. And so we're going to take a brief time out, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little more on this subject and a little more on your kids. So hang with us. This is Faith Family Fitness on 100.7 The Word.
Thanks for listening to Faith Family Fitness, a presentation of Full Armor sports teams. Teamwork is at the core of any successful organization. At Full Armor Sports, led by national champion coach Jason Lupo, a Christ-centered approach to sports fundamentals and fitness has earned his company the respect of athletes and their parents. Full Armor Sports is committed to helping youth in our community experience growth through sports and to strive for improvement and excellence. Further, youth compete as individuals, coming together with a sense of teamwork, camaraderie, and support for one another. At Full Armor Sports, the reality is achievements, failures, wins, and losses eventually fade away. But the bonds team members form through competition evolve into relationships lasting forever. Learn more at fullarmorsports.com.
Welcome back to Faith Family Fitness on 100.7 The Word. Today's topic has been, can sedentary behavior all day erase a workout? And we've talked about the active couch potato. Even the people that work out for a short period of time, if they're not moving throughout the day, there's no substantial impact on the health and well-being of you and your family. And so what it comes down to is moving throughout the day. Up to 80 to 90 minutes of light movement is the critical portion. And so as most of you know that have been listening to this show, I own Full Armor sports teams. We started as a swim team back in 2016, and we've gradually added sports throughout the years. Now we have a wide variety of sports ranging from volleyball and softball to swimming and powerlifting and martial arts. And we work with kids all the time. And so it's cool because we've talked about a lot of things on this show in the last 6-7 weeks. And we've talked from everything about, what is training, the critical elements of a training program and how to progress, starting small and consistently adding, choosing programs that will match our fitness goals. We talked about the impact of our brain on exercise and our brain on reaching our goals. The idea of positive self-talk, of believing that we can, makes a big difference. And we've talked about overcoming barriers when we talked about Kipchoge and breaking the world record in the marathon. Just this last weekend, the American record for the women was broken in the marathon. And so all these barriers are just coming down left and right. And it's making a substantial impact in the world of athletics. And so we've talked about all these things, and now we're coming full circle. We are coming full circle back to what it takes to make sure that our family is healthy, that we are healthy, and that we're able to provide the best health for our families. And so we started Full Armor sports teams, and we were focused on youth development. It was a big focus of mine back when we started. At the time, I was at Clemson University, and I was studying youth development leadership. I've since graduated with my master's from Clemson. Go Tigers, back in the top 4 of the college football rankings. But we were focused on youth development in a loving environment. We were focused on making sure that our kids had positive outcomes outside of just the medals and awards that they were going to receive competing in sports. It was about the long-term impact of training. It was about the long-term impact of participating in sport and the lessons that were learned. And it's about the friendships, about the camaraderie in our team. And so when we look at all the topics that we've discussed, and we look at everything that we're trying to teach our kids about a positive, healthy lifestyle, this comes into play. This is huge. And as I said earlier, I've seen the difference in the kids that are more active throughout the day than just the ones that come to practice, and their sole source of fitness is the 2 hours that they spend with us. And so what we do, the decisions that we make in our children's lives and where to place them in programs is critical. What are they teaching them to ensure that they learn these lessons that are going to stay with them for the rest of their lives? And how do we create the best athletes? Because at the end of the day, that's a critical component of what we do running youth sports programs. And so we look at all the topics, and if you want, you can go on our website, faithfamilyfit.org. You'll find links to where you can listen to past episodes. But listen in. Learn what we've been talking about. And if there's a topic that we have not covered, I want you to email me at questions@faithfamilyfit.org. That way we can answer the questions on the show, and we can talk about the things that are impacting your family. But if you don't have a place where your kids are participating in activity, I highly recommend that you check out fullarmorsportsteams.com. And that's Armour, the traditional British spelling, ARMOUR, fullarmorsportsteams.com. You can also call 719-629-7946 to get information about our programs. You can also text that number. Information on our swimming programs, our volleyball, softball, all the programs that we have to offer, our martial arts program, which is an awesome program. But we want to continue to provide information on this show that is going to help your family become more fit, more healthy, and to build your relationship with Christ. And so we do that in a faith-oriented way, where we talk about the impact of your family, your fitness, and your faith all coming together and converging on this show. And so I highly recommend that you go back and you listen to the previous episodes. So let's get our kids off devices. Let's get our kids off their phones constantly, off their computers, off the screens. Let's limit the amount of Netflix binging we have in our world and our lives. Let's get out. Let's play. Let's move. Let's continue to strive to move a little bit more every day. And so that's the topic of today's show. That's the topic of what we need to do to become healthier. It's not about signing up for a gym today to get healthier. It's not about setting these crazy New Year's resolutions about losing a ton of weight in the next month. It's about steady growth of our health. It's about moving more every day. It's not about the latest fitness trends, but it has to be fun. And I think that's why we see things like pickleball exploding lately. It is like the number one fastest growing sport in all ages. It's not just the older adults. Everybody's playing pickleball. And we're seeing bars pop up with pickleball courts. We're seeing bars pop up with volleyball courts because movement has to be fun. We have to make it fun. And so find something that you enjoy and do it a little more every day. Thanks for joining us on this show. This is Faith Family Fitness on 100.7 The Word. We are here every single Saturday at 9 a.m. And if you have questions or if you want more information, please find us at faithfamilyfit.org. Once again, faithfamilyfit.org. Thanks for joining us. See you next week.
This has been Faith Family Fitness with Coach Jason Lupo of Full Armor Sports Teams of Colorado Springs. Join him at the same time next week for Faith Family Fitness on The Word 100.7.